Hey friends, so here we are. Hopefully you've got a great synthesis grid all filled out with credible sources and really compelling quotes. You've done your research and now you're ready to go from that to the draft. So I'm going to walk you through and show you the example that we were looking at last time. Hopefully that will clarify what it looks like, and you can certainly look back at that in Fab or any of the other examples to see how it all comes together. So when you've got your synthesis grid completed, meaning you feel like you've got a lot of really good evidence to extend your argument and really support it, then you want to look at it and think about the patterns that you see and different ways of organizing the essay. And there's really no right way to do it, but I think you tend to want to do your strongest subcategories toward the end of the essay, but you're probably going to discover that as you're in the drafting process. So I just, as an example, to stick with the essay that we've been looking at a little bit, decided to stick with that and the way that the author of that organized was kind of looking at the truth that we tell, and I put a question mark, obviously, deliberately. Talked about privacy issues, self-esteem, and then whether social media is really social or antisocial. And in this space, this allowed the writer to explore the counterclaim. And that's something I will talk about more as we look at this example. So when you get to the body paragraphs, these are the things that you want to have in every body paragraph. You definitely want to have a topic sentence, just like I've said with really any other writing, that you want to have that promise for what the paragraph is going to focus on. So it should be at the beginning, make it the first sentence. It's just the most straightforward way to go about doing this. And then this is more of a global comment about the paragraph, but it is truly a combination of what they say, meaning your research source people, authors, and what you say. And certainly what you say is informed by your research. And now the goal is that you've come out of this process with a really well-informed argument. So this is key, right? You're going to have some in-text citations using MLA format, and I will show you different ways of doing that. And that's also when this little handy dandy book comes into play. And if you haven't really used this book yet, this is the time to take it out, dust it off, and look through. There's a whole section that is green. It talks about the research process, and a lot of what I've been focusing on in these slides is coming right from here. This is also a time to look at this and the chapters that you've been reading, review them, because it will give you a lot of ways to integrate those quotes they say into the body paragraphs. And you're going to have a variety of source material, so you will do some summarizing of your sources, especially if you remember the article that I was using in the previous lesson that was very detailed and had a lot of different aspects of the impacts of social media with regard to healthy eating or not, as the case was. And so there was so much information there that I would certainly want to summarize some of that. I also might do some paraphrasing of some of the more maybe complex points, but the ones that I want to include. And then if you've got a really good like killer line that says it perfectly, you'd want to directly quote that. So I'm going to pause for a moment so I can pull up the example, and then we'll take a look at how the writer in that case does those things. Okay, so we're on the paper. This is the one about social media. And let's take a look at this first sentence. Oop. The last effect that social media can have on an individual is lowering their self-esteem, right? So that's a real strong topic there that this person feels clearly that is one of their biggest points. Goes right from that topic sentence into an article by Susie East on CNN.com shows a recent study at the UCLA Brain Mapping Center, which scanned the brains of 32 teenagers as they used an app which is similar to Instagram, that showed that certain parts of the brain were activated when they received likes and showed the reward center of the brain becoming even more active. The lead author, Lauren Sherman, states, direct quote, "When teens learn that their own pictures have supposedly received a lot of likes, they show significantly greater activation in parts of the brain's reward circuitry. This is the same group of regions responding when we see pictures of a person we love or when we win money." All right, I'm going to stop reading there for a second to just point out two things. So we've got our topic sentence, then we have a brief summary of the study, and then we have a direct quote. And this direct quote goes right back to this point of social media having an impact on self-esteem. Not in a direct way. So what the writer has to do is explain how that quote kind of connects and supports the topic. So the writer does that here. The influence that positive feedback has on our brains may also be shown negatively when the feedback on our social media pictures or posts do not receive the positive attention we want. If we see the amount of likes someone else is getting or how few we are, we can assume the negative effects will inhibit our brains. The underlying reason that we even post on social media is to see our number of likes increase, which gives us a sense of affirmation. If we are relying on social media to receive the approval we desire and use it as a way to build our confidence, we will soon find it counter-effective by watching someone else's scale of likes increase as well. Envy toward others on social media can also contribute to our decreasing self-esteem. So that whole section from after the direct quote all the way down to here is the writer really incorporating their say. So it's a good, to me, this is a good example of how you use your sources and how the sources, sorry if you can hear my husband's weed whacking going on in the background. This is where we're at though. So then the writer goes back to a study. So a study by Krasnova concluded that 36% of those who were surveyed show signs of envy, frustration, and exhaustion after using Facebook. So this directly supports the idea in the topic sentence. This frustration and envy relates back to the dishonest aspect of social media, where everyone only displays the positive aspects of their life and chooses only positive aspects of their life that they want people to see. So this part here really echoes one of the earlier paragraphs in the first kind of claims that the writer was making in the paper. This self-presentation and envy cycle is known as the self-promotion envy spiral. And this again is a source that the writer used early in the paper. Because of our access to other people's portrayed life, we often compare ourselves to the perfection and happiness we see on social media and aspire to become the same. The old YOLO problem, right? This, of course, is an unrealistic goal since what is portrayed on social media is only a part of what is actually present in someone's life. We follow the cycle, post only the truth, or perhaps lies we want people to see about our lives, which continue to the next person who may be envious of our perfect, happy life. So what I wanted you to see here, a few things really, and I'm just going to move this over a little bit is that use of the combination of a few different things in terms of some summary, some paraphrasing. There's one direct quote here, and the way that the author incorporates the source material. So there's a few different ways to do it. This is effective, a study by blah, 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 or doing it after the fact, where you include just the author's name so that you can cross-reference them in the works cited page. So the point of that is that you know, as you're writing it, you are synthesizing your information, and you are also making sure that you give credit where you're using someone else's idea. That's crucial because you absolutely don't want to be plagiarizing. And so this shows you an example of how to make sure that you're attributing the material to the source. And all of this should be easy to cross-reference on the works cited, which I'll scroll down to. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources. And this one was referred to in that paragraph. This one was referred to in that paragraph. And this one was referred to. So this person did a really good job of making it clear what source material they were using and when they were using it. So I hope just seeing that example helps clarify what it looks like when you put it all together. It is certainly a process, and you just have to trust once you start writing it, especially if you do some organizing before you start really drafting these body paragraphs and organizing them into subcategories that make sense to you and, you know, will advance your argument in a way that, you know, has the most punch, right? Okay, so I think I'm hoping that you're ready to launch into the paragraph writing aspect of this. And I would encourage you to read through the examples in FAB. They're different topics, and you certainly can find many, many examples. There are some in the Little Seagull Handbook, and there are some in They Say, I Say. Use those resources. That's why you have them. All right, and certainly email me if you have questions and concerns, as always.